Good morning. And it is a good morning because we have our 13th Victory Monday to celebrate. Eagles 24 or 25, Bears 20. It's just win number 13 on the season. We got a lot to talk about with this Eagles game. It wasn't the prettiest victory, but it was a victory. So we're going to dive all into it. Trending in the AM starts in 30 seconds.
Holding gets around in front.
And Philadelphia has it.
And a very good morning, everybody. Welcome to Trending in the AM right here on DSM Media. We're live, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. You know the drill. Like, share, retweet, and follow on all social media platforms. Make sure you do me a favor. Hit that like button, that subscribe button, and that comments right there on the DSM Media YouTube page. We got a 10 away from 700. We're really trying to get to that 700 mark. Then we can start complaining and building towards that 800, then 900, on the way to 1,000. I'm your host, Phil Steichen. Make sure you shoot me a follow on Twitter at Bearded Knowledge. I'd greatly appreciate that. Eagles win 25-20. Hard fought. Yeah, I'm going to call it a character win. A win's a win in the NFL. And you see going across the board yesterday that across the NFL that on any given Sunday, any team can win except for the Dallas Cowboys. It's great to see the Cowboys lose yesterday in overtime. It just makes Victory Monday for the Eagles that much better. We're not here to throw shade at the Cowboys. We'll have plenty to talk about this week as we get set for Eagles-Cowboys on Christmas Eve. We got to talk about Eagles beating the Bears. 25-20, like I said. Look, I said it this week, that the Bears, they're not a good team, but they're not a bad team. And the Eagles they're now 13-1. They're going into this week at 12-1. They got a huge target on their back. And we got the Eagles or the Cowboys this week, but then we got the Saints next week, and we got the Giants to close the season out. There's a target on our back. Everybody wants to knock off the champs, the best team in the league, the 13-1 team. You get the best out of everybody when you're like this. So some games aren't going to be pretty, and this week was no different. This game was not pretty whatsoever. But really, the show can end right here. A good team loses that kind of a game. A great team with an MVP finds a way to win those games. And that's exactly what the Eagles and Jalen Hurts did. Look, Jalen Hurts threw 2 first-half interceptions. Jalen Hurts and the offense looked shaky. The defense played great, but gave up some big plays to Justin Fields. What did they do? They pulled up their britches a little bit. They tightened it up a little bit. They figured out a way to get the job done. Because that's what great teams do. They find ways. Their character finds ways to get the job done and get the W. You can have plenty of excuses. The cold weather, the tough schedule, the looking ahead to the Cowboys on Christmas Eve, the short week. There are plenty of excuses for the Eagles to lose on Sunday. But they did not. They found a way to win. Thanks for checking in. Yeah, Victory Monday. Seems to get repetitive. I have to call it Victory Monday every week, it seems like. Yet they're still getting disrespected. We've been complaining for weeks now that the Eagles are not the lead story on any national media site. I guarantee they'll be the lead story because they barely won, today. I bet you when I get to work and turn on ESPN, it'll be Eagles barely win. Are they for real? When the Cowboys just lost in overtime to the Jags. That'll be the story. We almost lost to the Texans. We struggled. But the Chiefs went to overtime against the Texans yesterday. That won't be the lead story. This will be the week they choose to lead with the Eagles. Is Jalen Hurts overrated because he threw 2 interceptions yesterday? But you know what Jalen Hurts did after he threw for those 2 interceptions? Threw for 300 yards, rushed for 2 touchdowns, threw for another. He just kind of said, okay. Yeah, I threw 2 interceptions. But, these shoulders are bigger than that. I always talk about it. Jalen Hurts never gets too low. He never gets too high. And yesterday was a perfect example of that. Everything early in that game was going against the Eagles. We're going to get more into details in the game in a second. I'm just thinking big picture and overall. Yeah, rushed for 3 touchdowns. That's right. He rushed for 2, and Miles Sanders rushed for 1, right? No, he rushed for all 3. Okay. He rushed for all 3 touchdowns. Look, that'll be the narrative. It won't be that the Eagles had a hard-fought victory. The narrative will be, well, Jalen Hurts had a bad game and this and that, and they struggled against the Bears. Look, let's give the Bears some credit. They came ready to play yesterday. I said it yesterday on Twitter. This was their Super Bowl. They were all in on yesterday. They knew the eyes of the NFL were on that game because the Eagles are the top the top dog. Excuse me. This is their moment. This was their moment to shine. This was Justin Fields' moment. Let me tell you something. Justin Fields is a hell of an athlete. I'm not sure what kind of a quarterback Justin Fields is yet, but he's an athlete. That guy just doesn't stop fighting and running and ducking tackles. I mean, you had Hassan Reddick with that big strip sack on him. The very next play, 3rd and 200, and he ducks under the sack of Reddick. He made 4 other guys look like Pee Wee League tacklers and rushed for 400 yards on that play. I think there's a penalty on that play, and it got called back. Yeah, how about them Cowboys? We're going to get distracted a lot today because I'm going to keep throwing little digs at the Cowboys. Do you know, Kyle, that the Cowboys are actually favored at this moment? The opening line is Cowboys -1.5. How that's possible, I have no freaking idea. So we're going to throw a lot of digs Cowboys way. It was equal parts the team looking at the Cowboys and just the harsh, windy cold. But they buttoned up when it counted. This is a perfect, exactly. And Freddie, I said it to open the show. That's what great teams do. They button up when it counts. They didn't let any of the excuses that they had. And there are plenty of excuses for the Eagles to lose this game. Hell, they could blame the game plan. Because we're going to get into Shane Steichen and his play calling. They could have blamed the turnovers, the miscues, the wind. They could have blamed it on a lot of stuff. But they didn't. You know why? Because they buttoned up. They pulled up their britches, a little higher. They tightened up. They got the job done. And that's all you can hope for and expect. You're not going to win 17 games in a row. You're not going to go undefeated. You're not going to win all 17 games by 30 points. There are going to be tough moments in the NFL. It's a long season. It's how you overcome that adversity in a game that matters. The Eagles figured it out yesterday. So what happened yesterday? Well, first and foremost, like I said, the Bears, they came to play. And Justin Fields, his running ability, his escape ability, they got 6 sacks on him. I know we want to talk about the offense and the play calling, but I feel like this is the week to start with defense and talk about defense. It's time to give Jonathan Gannon his credit. It's time for me to say, I am sorry, Jonathan Gannon. You're going to give up yards. I mean, there's a reason why Justin Fields is only the 3rd quarterback ever to rush for 1,000 yards in a season. The guy's got so much talent. Now, they got to get him some weapons. Cole Kmet did not have a good game. Some people like to say, I know Coach Dale Carlson, who was on the show last week, he's a Bears fan, and he said Cole Kmet is a guy, that might be something. You got Darnell Mooney, he was out. No, I know Chase Claypool and one other wide receiver was out. So they didn't have much going for them on offense. David Montgomery, he's an okay running back. Their offensive line is just terrible. And you saw that with the 6 sacks. But the defense went in there, and for the most part, I said this last week, I'm like, you're not going to stop Justin Fields from running the football. It's if you can maintain him and keep him from having a huge game. I said, you keep him under 100 yards, that's a win. He had 95 yards rushing yesterday. You kept him under 100 yards. He didn't rush for a touchdown. He threw 2. David Montgomery rushed for 1. Yes, I know. But you had to contain him. And I think I know having 95 rushing yards for a quarterback sounds bad for a defense, but that's containing it. Let's be honest. That's containing him. And they did their job. 6 sacks, 2 for Reddick, 2 more for Hargrave, and 2 for Josh Sweat. Hassan Reddick ain't going to get to the 18 and a half that I predicted, but he's actually going to come a lot closer than people realize. I mean, he's at 12 already, 3 games to go. 15 might be a possibility for Hassan Reddick. John Hargrave, 10 sacks for a defensive tackle. I mean, that's great. More than you could ask for. Having a hell of a season. Going to get paid big money in the offseason, whether from the Eagles or somebody else. Brandon Graham didn't have one yesterday, but he's at 8.5. I want to give some credit to Josh Sweat. I mean, hell, at the end of last year, Josh Sweat, we didn't know much about it at the time, got really sick. They said he was like near death sick. That's how sick he was. And he didn't play the last game, and he didn't play in the playoffs. Didn't even know what to expect out of him. He got a big deal last year. Kind of saw him leveling out a little bit. Guy's got 9.5 sacks this year. Had 2 more yesterday. And because of Hassan Reddick's big numbers, because let's be honest, Hassan Reddick doesn't just have 12 sacks. He's got multiple pass defended. He's got 4 forced fumbles. He's doing the whole thing. He's dropping back into coverage, covering tight ends and running backs, wide receivers, getting after. Imagine if he just blitzed the quarterback every time out there. Hassan Reddick might have 18.5 sacks already. 3 straight seasons, double-digit sacks. He gets all the credit. Javon Hargrave, big-name defensive tackle. Defensive tackles don't always get double-digit sacks. That's where all the hype's going. Brandon Graham, because he's an Eagle legend. No one's talking about Josh Sweat in the seasons he's having. He's having a hell of a season, and he had a hell of a game yesterday. Not just the 2 sacks. I mean, constantly in the backfield. Constantly. I mean, the linebackers yesterday, again, I know. Look, I saw PFF. They graded TJ Edwards going into this week. I think he was the number 2 linebacker in football. The eye test just doesn't pass it for me. Again, another game goes by yesterday with no Nakobe Dean on the field on defense. TJ Edwards, he's a little slow. He's always falling backwards on tackles. I don't know. But he didn't play bad. Look, I'm nitpicking there a little bit. The defensive backs had a good game. Kayvon Wallace actually made some plays yesterday. I mean, considering the situation that Kayvon Wallace is in and the pressure he's under, he made some plays. Now, Darius Slay gave up the big touchdown to Byron Pringle. Yeah, Byron Pringle. That was kind of a mental lapse he had there. And that can't happen. Not next week against the Cowboys. Definitely not come playoffs. You can't let that happen. So, got to clean that. Kind of felt like across the board yesterday, offense and defense, there were some, I don't call them miscues, but mental lapses. We're going to get into A.J. Brown. I've got a little theory that I'm thinking on A.J. Brown. We're going to get into that in a second. Excuse me. I swear I'm almost over this. Almost over this cold. Almost. I feel almost normal again. There were some mental lapses, and they can't happen. Darius Slay can't have that mental lapse come playoff time. But as a whole, I mean, the Bears get the ball on their first possession and just march right down the field. I think there was a point in the game where the defense was on the field for 22 plays to the Eagles' offense 9. Now, some of that's on the offense, and we're going to get to the offense in a second. But there was every opportunity for that defense to get tired and worn out. And, dude, for the first time in a while, the snap counts got a little out of whack again. For the first time since Joseph and Ndamukong Suh got here, some of the guys played a little bit more. Obviously, your entire secondary, Epps, Maddox, Slay, and Bradbury, your 4 main guys, played every snap. There were 59 defensive snaps. They played all 59 of them. Edwards missed 2. But where is it here? Fletcher Cox played 68% of snaps. He played 40 plays. It's a bit much for him. Hargrave 37, 63%. Joseph and Suh. Joseph actually outsnapped Suh. Last week, Suh outsnapped Joseph by a wide margin. This week, Joseph outsnapped him. It's kind of funny. I wonder if it has to do with matchups. I wonder if it's just a rotation thing. They're going to give Sue some of the numbers, and the next week Joseph, whatever. I am surprised Jordan Davis still isn't playing much. He only had 14 snaps yesterday. Milton Williams only having 11 snaps, and he had a huge play. Milton Williams, huge play chasing down Justin Fields. I think it was a third down, second or third down, and Justin Fields had broken containment and got to the outside, and Milton Williams caught him from behind. Hell of a freaking tackle. Saved the first down, saved the big play, maybe a touchdown. I would like to see Milton Williams on the field a little bit more. Now, Milton Williams might be a starter next year, but this year, you got to keep Hargrave, you got to keep Cox fresh for the playoffs. So run him out there, running Fletcher Cox out there a few more snaps couldn't hurt. Because now these guys are a little bit more beat up, a little bit more tired, and you got a huge matchup against the Cowboys. And we're going to talk about that all week, later today, whatever. But it is still a big matchup. It's on Christmas Eve, 4 o'clock game or 4:30, whatever it may be. It's a big game. And you can win the division. You can lock up the number 1 seed. You could do all that with the win. And then have 2 easy weeks to go. You need everybody fresh and ready to go on Saturday night. For sure. Absolutely. That being said, the defense at first saved the offense. Because, like I said, we're going to get into the offense in a second. But every time the offense had a miscue or a bad drive and forced the defense right back out on the field, the defense buckled up and made big plays. They got the sacks when necessary. They got off the field on third down when necessary. I'm looking at the team stats here in a second. The Bears were 5 of 13 on third down, 0 for 1 on fourth down. They got off the field when it mattered. And that's what you need to do. You need to get off the field when it matters. And they did that. So the defense, like I said, it's a tip of the cap. And it's a round of applause. And it's a I am sorry to Jonathan Gannon. Excuse me. Because again, we've been harsh in the city on him. We've called for his job. We've called him all names, up and down. But this defense is playing great right now. And there's no way around it. They've played excellent for a long since that Washington game, and that Washington game still could have been a win. They've really had very few mental lapses, very few long stretches of bad play. Maybe they give a bad drive here or there, but that's about it. I'll question his rotation still. I'll question the Nakobe Dean not being on the field still. I will. But I'm not going to question their effort and their scheme. Their front five is just getting after the quarterback every single play. If I'm Dak Prescott next week and whoever's starting for the Saints the week after that, I don't want to face this Eagles front five, especially if I got injuries on the offensive line. And I'm pretty sure the Cowboys have some issues on their offensive line. I know they lost one of their starting tackles for the year. They may have lost both their starting tackles. I think Jason Peters is starting again for the Cowboys. I didn't watch the Cowboys game yesterday. I don't know if he played or not. But damn, I mean, I would not want to be Dak Prescott under the pressure he's under with all the interceptions he's thrown, all the questions about him. I wouldn't want to be him, knowing that this Eagles team, the number 1 get after the quarterback team in the NFL, is coming to town on Christmas Eve. Definitely would not want that. They are playing phenomenal football, this defense. And I wanted to make sure we started the show, not ended the show, started the show. Because we always start with Jalen Hurts, Mr. MVP, and the offense, and all the points, and all this stuff. I wanted to start the show and make sure we give the credit to the defense that it rightfully deserves. That, because it's important. I wasn't going to start the show with special teams. Special teams, again, I mean, I think the new punter, Kern, had 2 punts. Whatever. Boston Scott had another big kick return. Great job from him. There weren't even many punts for Britton Covey to return. I don't even know if he had one that he actually returned, like a physical return. He returned 1 for 7 yards. Everything else was, let's see here, Yeah, they punted 6 times. He only returned 1 of them. Whatever with that. Dak was going to come back and make it. Remember, we only beat Cooper Rush the last time. Yeah, but Cooper Rush was better than Dak, some were saying. They were saying after Cooper Rush beat the Eagles, he was going to be the starter for the Cowboys going forward. We ended that right there. We squashed that one real quick. Look, I'm actually, Freddie, don't tell anybody. I'm actually a Dak Prescott fan. Dak Prescott, the person. I was a fan of him. I think it was Mississippi State he came out of. I was a fan of him in college. I liked his talent, his potential in the NFL. But the Cowboys is a bad organization. And once you're a Cowboy, you're dead to me. I don't wish him any ill will, but I also can't wish him to do well. I wanted Micah Parsons on the Eagles. I can't root for him now. It's a shame. They got 2 guys I loved coming out of college on their team. Can't root for them now. But Dak Prescott's just missing that what Jalen Hurts has. Throwing 2 bad interceptions. And they were bad interceptions. He throws 2 bad interceptions and still finds a way to lead his team to victory. Dak Prescott's got what, like 7 or 8 interceptions over the last 3 weeks? He doesn't find a way to elevate his team. He doesn't find a way to make them better. He makes mistakes, and he lets them snowball and compound into bigger mistakes. Leaders, MVPs, find ways to overcome that adversity. Dak doesn't. And that's the difference. Also want to say that maybe a difference is that we have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. He's got CeeDee Lamb and Noah Brown. I always think back that, we took Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson, but I always bitch about how we could have had CeeDee Lamb in that draft. Because we tried to make a trade with the Falcons, and a deal couldn't get done. There's a word for that, poise. Absolutely. Jalen Hurts has a crap ton of poise. Dak Prescott doesn't. It's not to say that Dak Prescott can't beat the Eagles next week. They have a good game plan. If things go right, very possible. They're a good team. They've won 10 games in the NFL this year. Crazy NFL season. They've won 10 games. But I always think back to how we could have gotten CeeDee Lamb. Now I look back and think that CeeDee Lamb isn't as elite as people think he is. He's good. He's a great number 2. He's an okay number 1 wide receiver. But you look at what having A.J. Brown has done for Jalen Hurts. There's a reason why he's not elite. He's not in that top 5, but he's damn close to the top 5. CeeDee Lamb might not be in the top 10, but yet he gets the hype that he is a top 5, 6, 7 wide receiver. There's something not right there. I don't think he's as good as people think he is, CeeDee Lamb. So let's get on this offense. What the hell happened with this offense yesterday? Come out with a god-awful game plan. I think it was late in the second quarter, the first time Miles Sanders even touched the football. Extremely pass-happy offense. Going up against one of the worst run defenses in football. And you come out and you throw it. And I joked Thursday or Friday last week. I'm like, it's going to be 20 degrees, windy, cold. You're going up against a run defense that stinks. So we're going to throw the ball 45 times. Well, I was joking. I didn't actually think that that's what was going to happen. Now, the end results, he threw the ball 37 times to 33 rushes. But, man, it wasn't like that. There was a lot. It was a much more unbalanced offense than the box score checker would tell you. First and foremost, Jalen Hurts, 17 rushing attempts. It just can't happen. Can't. Shouldn't. You are going to get your MVP killed. I know he's going to run the ball every game. You're going to have design runs. You can't eliminate that from the game plan. That is what makes Jalen Hurts so good. His ability to run like a running back. But he also throws like Tom Brady. You got to protect him. Jordan Mailata was asked after the game about all the hits, and he's like, yeah, he's good. But then that one time he just took a little longer. And Jalen Hurts told him to get me the F up. One of these times he's not going to get up. And we're coming down to the end of the season. Look, we need to be all in against Dallas this week. Just control your own destiny. Lock up that number 1 seed this week. You do that, then you can protect the hell out of Jalen Hurts the last 2 weeks of the season. You don't want to rest him and give him 3 weeks off or anything like that. But you got to protect him. You gotta do it. You can't have him taking. I mean, you think about it. He only took 1 sack yesterday, but he took 17 hits on run plays. Some of them were wow hits too. They were highlight reel. You heard from the sound the boom. They were hard hits. You can't have that. And we've talked about this all year. He's going to be beat up, sore and hurt. Now, I don't think that'll affect him as long as he's physically capable of playing. He's not injured. He's not the guy that's going to let the soreness from the NFL season knock him down. But it does wear on you. And it does create, maybe if you've taken 1 too many hits, it creates some mental lapses maybe. And I'm not making excuses for his 2 interceptions. They were early in the game, before all the hits piled up, and they were some bad passes. That one when he rolled out and he tried to place that deep ball, that was just a bad play, man. Bad. And it's crazy, and I tweeted it out yesterday. Like, I'm shocked when he throws an interception or has a bad read like that because it's so rare for him. His 2 interceptions, he almost doubled what he had on the whole season. He still only got 5. He still hasn't lost a fumble yet this year, which is crazy because the amount of times he touches the ball. But you put him in those positions to make those turnovers when you're just passing the ball, play in and play out. When you're not setting any kind of tone. The thing that annoyed me the most yesterday was the 3rd and short, 3rd and mid, and the constant decision to throw a deep ball. Almost felt like they were just trying to toy with the Bears, and they knew they had it, and they were just messing around. They ran some creative plays that we haven't seen all day. Let's just work on shit. This is like a practice to us, a glorified practice. So let's try things we wouldn't normally do just to see if they work. And every 3rd down and short and long, well, not every, because they ended up actually having a really good 3rd down percentage yesterday. Let me pull team stats back up here. I think they were like 9 or something. They were 9 of 16, so better than 50%. But there was at least 5 or 6 times on 3rd down where they just said, screw it, drop back, bomb. 2 to Quez Watkins, a couple to A.J. Brown, and they just low percentage plays. You don't want low percentage plays on 3rd and short, 3rd and 5. You want a high percentage play. You want a play that's going to continue to extend the drive, especially when your defense at first was just nonstop out there. You don't want to put that pressure on your defense. Where's on 3rd and 2 a run with Miles Sanders? Quick out pattern, quick crossing, quick slant, whatever it may be. Now, missing Dallas Goedert still, and we thought he was going to play. He didn't. They held him out for 1 more week. All indications is he'll be ready for Dallas on Saturday. The missing of Dallas Goedert has been huge the last couple of weeks. You still had big games the last couple of weeks, including yesterday, from Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. I mean, A.J. Brown's over 1,100 yards now. Devontae Smith is less than 100 away from 1,000. It's crazy to think that we're going to have 2,000-yard receivers on this team. But the loss of Dallas Goedert has still been pretty big. And I said it at the trade deadline. I'm like, we need a backup tight end because Jack Stoll isn't it, and Grant Calcaterra isn't ready. And last week we saw Grant Calcaterra in the game plan. This week, not so much. You need that second guy, that big body that can go over the middle, and you're missing that with Dallas Goedert. It'll be something that they have to work on in the offseason, making sure that they are either confident in Calcaterra or they go out and they address that backup tight end position a little bit because Dallas Goedert misses time every year. And you're seeing what the loss of him does to this offense. But these deep balls on third down and short, Shane Steichen just had a bad game plan. He had bad play calls. I mean, I don't know what the game plan was, and did he just not stick to it? Or if that was the actual game plan, somebody's head needs to be checked out. Whoever helped them develop that game plan, him and Nick Sirianni, was not good. But they still found a way to get the job done because you have Jalen Hurts. And when things go wrong, Jalen Hurts just puts the team on his shoulders and runs 17 times, gets first downs, 3 touchdowns. That's what happens when you got Jalen Hurts as your quarterback. But you have so many other weapons and so many other assets on this team. You shouldn't need to. Miles Sanders touched the ball 11 times out of the backfield. I know he caught one ball, lost a lot. He had his big fumble, basically. He had one really bad fumble. And let me tell you something. It was a bad fumble. Miles Sanders has had fumbling issues in the past. He's had fumble issues and injury issues coming into the season. And he's had a hell of a season. There's no doubt about it. He's at 1,100 plus yards, I think, as a player now for the season. I believe he's hit 1,100 yards. Maybe not. Yeah, he's over 1,100 yards now. A.J. Brown's actually over 1,200 yards now. Miles Sanders is over 1,100 yards. But yesterday, that was we talk about the mental lapses and Darius Slay. You can't let that happen. And same thing with Miles Sanders. I know yesterday was the Bears and it was week 15 and whatever. If you lost the game, big whoop, whatever. You still control your own destiny. I know all that. But come next week in Dallas, come the playoffs, Miles Sanders, you can't have that. You can't let that fumble carry over. And I know I saw some people say it. I missed it. That Nick Sirianni chewed him the hell out after that. Good. I hope he chewed out Darius Slay too. Can't have mental lapses. Week 14, 15, week 18, week 1 of the playoffs. You got to be ready to go every play, every game. If you want to be the elite, Super Bowl teams don't have mental lapses. And they had a few yesterday. I want to talk about A.J. Brown. We're going to take a quick pause in the action here. I got an interesting A.J. Brown thing, but give me a second here. We're brought to you by Gents Barber Lounge. Check out one of their 2 great locations, Fishtown and Old City, and book your appointment today. They own the craft and it shows, rated the #1 barbershop on Yelp in the Philadelphia area, able to handle any style cut, adult or kid. Check out some of their great work. We're back here trending in the AM on DSM Media. I am your host, Phil Steichen. Make sure you do me that favor. Like, share, subscribe, comment, turn notifications on. We continue our road to 700 subscribers, which then means we're on the road to 800, then 900, then 1,000. Then before long, we'll be unstoppable. All right. A.J. Brown. Eagles win 25-20. Let's reset here. We're talking this Eagles game here. And we're talking tough win, but a good win. Hey, a win is a win. You look across the NFL this weekend, there weren't many double-digit wins. Only one, I think. Anybody could. I mean, you look at some of the games that played this weekend. Insane. You got the Texans taking the Chiefs to overtime. You had that crazy end of the Raiders game with the Patriots. We're going to get into some of those games in a bit. But I got an A.J. Brown issue. And yeah, absolutely. I got an A.J. Brown issue. A.J. Brown is amazing. A.J. Brown has 1,200 yards receiving. He's got 74 catches on the season, 10 touchdowns. One of the best wide receiver seasons already with 3 weeks to go in Eagles history. Honestly, I'll put this up there with T.O.'s 2004. I'll put this up there with, well, we haven't had many good wide receivers. So I'll put this up there as a top 5 wide receiver season in Eagles history. I might have to do some research. It might be top 3. It really is. That's how great of a season he's having. And I put this out there yesterday, not to offend anybody, because I don't want to take away from how great of a season he is. But when you think of the guys, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Stephon Diggs, the elite of the elite, He's not there. But he could be. I think A.J. Brown leaves some food on the table every single week. I mean, let's be honest. He had 9 catches, 181 yards yesterday. I mean, it's 16 targets, 9 catches, 181 yards. Just let that sink in. But yet I counted 3 instances yesterday. And I was working yesterday, and I was busy at the pizza shop. I watched pretty much every play. I don't think I missed a play, maybe 1 or 2 plays later in the game. But I was working, and I couldn't tweet everything out as it happened. But after the game, I started a little thread on Twitter, and some people think I'm crazy. Some people saw it. There was a 3rd down play early in the game where he took, instead of going deep, he had a little crossing route. Jalen Hurts put a ball there. Hard thrown ball. It's windy. It's cold. It's a tough catch. But he didn't fight for it. There was the big 60-yard catch he had. I think he could have gotten to the end zone. He caught that ball and did not turn the Jets on instantly. He let the defense catch up to him. There was a tip ball in the end zone. It was almost a touchdown catch. The defender tipped it, and it went by him. I'm not saying it was an easy recovery and catch, but he'd even try to recover and make the catch and maybe track it and see if he can make a catch. I think if you really pay close attention to A.J. Brown, you can notice 2 or 3 plays every single game that you're like, did he just take that play off? And I don't want to look, we're 13-1. He's going to have 80, 90 catches on the season. He might get to 1,400, 1,500 yards. Depends on how much resting we do down the stretch. It may go down as the best wide receiver season in Eagles history. It really may. But could it be better? Could A.J. Brown be in that top 5 elite wide receiver group with Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase? Could he be considered in that group if he doesn't take some of those plays off? Because I think that's the difference. I mean, Tyreek Hill supposedly had a bad game. I didn't think it was that bad. I was watching that game Saturday night, and he went out and apologized to the fans that he won't have a bad game like that again. Kind of feel like A.J. Brown he's no Ricky Walters for what? He's no alligator arm of Ricky Walters. He's still an amazing player. And we wouldn't be 13-1 without A.J. Brown. But I want people to pay close attention next week against Dallas. Well, later this week because it's Saturday. He takes plays off. And it frustrates me. Because I want perfection every play. I want this team to make the Super Bowl. I want this team to win the Super Bowl. We all do. All Eagles fans do. We talked about if I'm going to criticize Darius Slay for having one mental lapse in the game that gave up a big touchdown and how that can't happen. I'm going to criticize Miles Sanders, who's had his best season of his career this year, a great time, a contract year, for one mental lapse and fumbling at a bad moment of a game. Why is A.J. Brown not criticized for not fighting for that extra yard? I mean, he's had how many fumbles and random moments and just bad moments of games this year? Couple. He's dropped a few balls. He's actually dropped I would love to know the drop statistics on him. I think he's dropped probably more passes than people realize this year. Catchable balls. And he just doesn't fight. Like, when we signed A.J. Brown, I know he was in that 6 through 9 range of wide receivers in the NFL. Maybe borderline top 5. I knew that's what he was. But I thought also that we're getting that guy that's going to go get those 50-50 balls. That first down possession guy. And when he didn't make that first down catch on 3rd down yesterday on a catchable ball, it wasn't a perfect ball. And I know it was cold and windy and blustery and it was in traffic. When you're a $100 million wide receiver, you fight for it a little bit more. You body up the defensive back and you fight for it. I don't see these plays off from Devontae Smith. He goes 110%, flies through the air to try to make every single catch. Some of those deep balls thrown to A.J. Brown, he just didn't look like he was – it wasn't that he wasn't tracking the balls well. He just wasn't going and fighting for the ball every single time. Sometimes he does. And the dude gets mossed. He mosses so many defensive backs. So I'm nitpicking here. I am. But come playoff time, you got a 3rd and 3. And it's a 25-20 game. You need that first down. You don't want to give the ball back to the Cowboys come playoff time. Not this week on Christmas Eve. Playoff time. And he doesn't fight for that ball. That could be a problem. In my opinion, it could be a big problem. He just it's 3 plays. It's 4 plays every single game. And I don't know if it's he takes it off, if he has mental lapses, or what it is, but he does. And it didn't backfire yet this year. The only game we've lost, Washington, that was a Dallas Goedert fumble that should have been a penalty. That was a Quez Watkins mental lapse fumble that could have been a touchdown. And it was a bad roughing the passer call on Brandon Graham. Any one of those plays go our way, we're probably 14-0 right now. Come playoff time, those mental lapses, we talked about it with the Phillies all during the playoff run. We talk about it in basketball. Playoffs amplify issues in all sports. And one mental mistake can be magnified come playoff time. And yesterday there were 2 or 3 mental mistakes on this team, plus then 2 or 3 from A.J. Brown. When you're winning, people forget about it. But come playoff time, they can be a problem. And I don't know if other people see it. I know a couple people hit me up on Twitter and said that they noticed it. Some said that they aren't sure, but they saw the plays I was talking about and they wanted to go back and rewatch them. Go back and find that play, that 3rd down play where he drops that ball. He doesn't make the catch. Short little crossing pattern. I don't know if it's 3rd and 2, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 7, something like that. Go back and watch that play. He gives no effort to make that catch. And it didn't backfire. We won the game, so great. But I guarantee I'm not the only one that sees it. I guarantee it. It's something that worries me come playoff time. It really does. And again, we're nitpicking on a guy that's got 1,200 yards receiving and 10 touchdowns. And depending on the rest schedule, the rest of the way, might end up with the best wide receiver season in Eagles history. But could it be more? Could we be winning games even more? It's kind of crazy to think. Like, it could be even better than it currently is. It's just something to think about. I don't know. But, hell, based off everything that went on in the NFL this weekend, we got no room to complain. Really. I mean, we can nitpick that the Shane Steichen's game plan was awful. And if I'm Harry Roseman, if I'm Nick Sirianni, I'm sitting down with Shane Steichen first thing this morning. Actually, probably last night on the plane ride home. What were you thinking? And why? And what are we going to do? Because we can't have a game plan like that going into Dallas next week. Or was the game plan there and it was just the players looking? Look, it was a trap game. You got Dallas on a short week, Christmas Eve. It's going to be a super tough game. There's a reason why the Cowboys are favored already. Road team on Christmas Eve on a short week. That's a problem. There's also the disrespect factor that we shouldn't be underdogs. But it's not going to be an easy game. Dallas, for as many mental lapses that they've had this year, they're still a talented team. They've won 10 games. You look across the NFL, there's not many teams with 10 wins. Obviously, there's only one team with 13 wins, the Philadelphia Eagles. But it's going to be a tough game. You look across the NFL, that Bears is flowing now. I'm not sure, Aaron. Maybe that's a mistypo there. The beard is flowing now. Yes. The beard needs to be trimmed up a little bit. I really need a beard grooming sponsor or something like that. Someone to come out and like groom this up for me. It's getting a little getting a little rough around the edges there. And I'm not very good at fixing it up. I'm not one of those guys that takes pretty care of it. I really would like some Christmas lights in it or some Christmas ornaments in it this year. Maybe I'll do that later this week. I'll get some Christmas ornaments in my beard for a show. The NFL is a crazy place this year. I mean, you look around the NFL, first and foremost, that Vikings game on Saturday. Yeah, the Bears were not flowing. They were close. The Bears put up a fight yesterday. And rightfully so. Like, you got to give them credit for where credit's due. The Vikings game. Holy crap. The biggest comeback in NFL history. Look, the Vikings are not scary to me in the playoffs. But let's give them some respect. Down 33-0 to come back and win that game. 39-36. You got to give them some respect. They've got 11 wins. You got to give them some respect. It was an insane come-from-behind victory. Buffalo, tough, hard-fought victory in cold, snowy Buffalo. First off, that Buffalo game. Can I talk about snowballs for a second? When Philly fans throw snowballs, it's a 50-year controversy. We're still not hearing the end of it. When Bills Mafia throws snowballs at referees, it's cool. It's hilarious. It's funny. What the hell? Seriously. I don't get that one. That one really annoyed me. Obviously, Detroit, another good win yesterday. They're trying to fight their way. Obviously, Jacksonville, thank you to Doug Peterson for helping the Eagles out again. Helping your former teammate out by beating the Cowboys in overtime with the pick six there. Kansas City, it took overtime to beat Houston. That just goes to show how crazy this NFL is. It took overtime to beat the one-win Texans yesterday. The Chargers beating the Titans. There might be two divisions with sub-500 teams making the playoffs. There's so many teams that could actually, I'm going to pull up the standings here, have losing teams. I mean, the Titans are 7-7. The Jags at 6-8 still have a chance. Hell, the 4-9-1 Colts, I think, still have a chance in that division. And then you got the NFC South, 6-8 Bucks. The Falcons at 5-9, who lost to the Saints this week, still have a chance. All four teams are in it in that division. It's crazy. Exactly. Santa was 50 pounds underweight and drunk to boot. Why would we not? It annoys me, the Philadelphia narrative. It really does. It really gets under my skin. It really does. And then you have the Raiders beating the Patriots yesterday. Are the Raiders still in it? They're 6-8. Can they make up? They're probably an outside shot at a wild card spot still. They're not going to win their division. I don't think they are going to win their division. Yeah, no, the Chiefs already clinched their division. But the way that game ended, god damn. If you haven't seen the end of the Raiders-Patriots game and how that game ended, go find the footage from that final game. Instead of trying to send it to overtime, the Patriots try to do some trickery and pitch the ball all around, and a Raider picked off the pitch back and ran it in for a touchdown. Somebody's getting an ass chewing by Bill Belichick. That was insane. And then you got the Giants, who haven't won one game in their last 5, taking it to the Washington Commanders. Now, the Washington Commanders have to have a whole week of, and it couldn't happen to a better team, should they be starting Carson Wentz. That whole thing is going to start all over again. And I will remind you, Trev from Ref the District did say he would take Carson Wentz over Jalen Hurts. I will continue to remind him that he said Carson Wentz is a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts. I will continue to remind him that just because he's a good guy and he'll take the jabs the right way. In this NFL, with anything that's going on, any team, any week, can win. I'll still say the 49ers are the team that scares me in the NFC the most come playoff time. Whether it's Brock Purdy, which I don't buy the Brock Purdy hype. He's just playing out of his mind. And honestly, this week he didn't even play out of his mind against Seattle on Thursday night. He played good. But you got Christian McCaffrey. You got a stellar defense there. And you're going up against the Seahawks. They still scare me the most. But you've seen it this year that on any given Sunday, anybody can win. And the parity in the NFL, it's insane. So that's why winning 25-20, even though it was a close game against the Bears, is such a big deal for the Eagles. Because this year, anything can happen, and you can have that excuse that it just wasn't our day. The fact that there's so many 6-8 teams still in the hunt, 5-9 teams in the hunt for their division, just goes to show how bad or how average the NFL has been this year. So the elite of the elite, it just makes it that much more special, I guess. It really does. It really is something to be seen, how the NFL has played out. I'm looking at the division, the league right now, the standings. Let me switch over to playoffs right now. I want to see. We got, so in the AFC, the Dolphins are in the 7th seed at 8-6, but you got 1-2. You got 2 7-7 teams, and the Patriots and the Jets on their outside. And then you got all the 6-8 teams. So yeah, the 6-8 teams, you got the Jags, who could win their division or make the playoffs, the Raiders. The Browns are still 6-8. Steelers are still, the Steelers have not been eliminated at 6-8. I mean, it's slim chances, but they haven't. In the AFC, or in the NFC, the entire NFC East is in the playoffs at the moment. But you got Seattle, you got Detroit. Detroit at 7-7, man. Playing some phenomenal football. Green Bay's still in it, technically. They go on a run, they win out. They might have a chance. Carolina could win their division still. Saints could win their division still. The Falcons could win their division still. The Rams somehow have not been eliminated from the playoffs at 4-9. Now I'm not sure how. So if they go 8-9, I guess I don't even know how that's even fathomable. I'm really not sure. Really not sure about that one. But it just, it's exciting to watch. And it's something that I just want to keep reminding people how special what the Eagles are doing, because this year's been so wacko. So that's why also the mental lapses need to be cleaned up. And they had quite a few yesterday. Now, I expect them to clean them up. I expect things to be fixed going into next week. The Dallas game, Dallas week's always a fun week. And when the division's on the line, that just makes Dallas week even that much more meaningful. The fact that we are underdogs at 13-1. Let me tell you something. I know Jalen Hurts knows that he might not admit it. He might stay laser focused. But Jalen Hurts knows that the bookies got the Eagles as the underdogs starting this week. Zero doubt in my mind that he knows that. And he is going to use that as bulletin board material, as motivation. Now, let's try not to get him killed this week. Let's try to not get him hit 100 times this week. But it's an insult. It's a great week. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a second. It's a great week when the division's on the line playing Dallas. Look, Dallas is in the playoffs. We're probably going to have to face them at some point. I think the way the playoff standings are set right now, Dallas would have to play Tampa or the winner of that NFC South. That's going to be a win. That means then we're going to end up probably playing them. So we're going to play them here in week 16. And then we're probably going to see them a few weeks later in the playoffs in mid-January here in Philly for a right to the NFC Championship game. Somebody said yesterday on Twitter they'd like to see the Cowboys-Eagles game. The Eagles not do too much trickery. They ran some funky plays yesterday, some trickery, some new wrinkles to the game plan. Don't do that next week. We don't need Dallas seeing any of that stuff. We don't. Save that shit for the playoffs. I almost want it to be a vanilla like preseason game plan to an extent. But hey, we need to win. You need to control your destiny. You need to get the win. And hey, I'm going to end the show with this. I'm going to remind everybody. I brought it up the other day. Bring it up again. I predicted 11-5 or 11-6. Then at the end of the show, before the season started, I sat here on this show and I picked 15-2 for this Eagles team. Everybody thought I was nuts. I thought I was nuts, but I found a path to 15-2. And we might get there. We might get there. Hey, guys, thank you all for checking in today. This has been a great show. Some great interactions today. I'm live every day, 8:30 a.m. So make sure you subscribe to the YouTube page or follow us on Facebook or Twitter. If you're watching on Twitter, I can't see your comments. I can't interact with you if you're watching on Twitter, but I do appreciate the views there as well. Make sure you're following us and subscribing on all platforms, but please subscribe on YouTube. Make sure you turn the notifications on. Make sure you share that subscription out and that channel out to all your friends. I greatly appreciate that. The more interaction, the better on this show. So I appreciate everybody that tuned in today. The Eagles win. They're 13-1, 25-20 against the Bears. Tomorrow we'll be back. The Sixers play tonight. They go for 5 in a row against the Raptors tonight. We'll talk about that game. We'll talk about this weekend from the Sixers. Hopefully they get another win. The Raptors are a little banged up. So that'll be on the agenda tomorrow, along with more Eagles talk, more Eagles-Cowboys talk, maybe some Christmas talk. It's Christmas week. I love Christmas. I feel like a Scrooge this week because this is the first time that I can remember in my life I have not put up one Christmas decoration. I've been tired, been sick, been working my ass off. I've not put up one Christmas decoration. I feel like a Scrooge. I do. I really do. There's just no time for it. But I still love Christmas. Still my favorite time of the year. So we're going to have fun with Christmas this week for sure. Everybody have a great Monday. We'll be back tomorrow. Jason will be with me, I think, talking Eagles, Cowboys, Sixers, this homestand. So much stuff to keep getting into. Everybody have a great day. Go Birds.